Hello, hello. Welcome to Unique Couple Sunday Night Live. It is great to see all of you. And today, tonight, this evening, whenever you are watching this, we are live here at Unique Couples, and we are talking all about beyond cancer, how to protect yourself, and definitely possibly others as well. And I have special guests with me today. Karenda Swain-Rolle, all of her names, all the way from Bimini, Bahamas, joining us today. And she is going to share on her personal experience and bring some insights into that. And then, of course, Michelle Santos, who will be sharing how she gave herself cancer and what she is doing about it now. So we're excited to have you join us today for this edition of Unique Couples Sunday Night Live. If you are here, go ahead, hashtag Live Squad. You're watching the replay, go ahead, hashtag replay, and then go and share. Let someone know that we are live, we are here, and we're having the conversations, those conversations that we are afraid to talk about, the things that we really want to keep like in the background and not really have to discuss. So we are having those conversations. And so welcome, ladies. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead and let our viewing audience know who you are. Tell us a little about yourselves. Okay, Karenda, you going? You can unmute.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to all watching live or listening or even looking at this at a replay moment. I'm Karenda Swain-Rolle, and as Linda had indicated, I'm on the island of Bimini, and I'm here this evening to share with you some of my experiences as it relates to how to protect yourself from breast cancer. And I know we're going to have an interesting discussion on this. I'm not afraid to talk about it, and I'm not ashamed. And I know that there are other ladies out there that probably have similar experiences that they too would like to share. And we just want everybody to relax and let's talk about something that is very important, especially to women. I know it touches men as well, but especially to us as females. So I'm ready.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and Michelle, thanks for joining us, Karenda. Go ahead, Michelle. You're muted. Okay, let's see. Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Yes, good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure. My name is Michelle Santos, and I am a breast cancer survivor. And tonight I'll be sharing with you my story of how I gave myself cancer and what you should not do to avoid doing the same thing to yourself that I did to myself unknowingly. So I
Wow.
hope that tonight, when you hear my story, you will have a good takeaway, a great takeaway, and you will make some changes in your life, realizing from what I've said or what I will be sharing that how easy it is to make ourselves sick, not just breast cancer or any other cancer, but just how we make ourselves sick in general on a daily basis, the things that we do. And, you know, as I get into the story, you'll hear it all. Thank you.
Okay, okay, awesome. And you're joining us from where, Michelle?
I am in Albany, New York.
Okay, okay. So we have Karenda with us, we have Michelle with us, and I think we have someone else joining us a little later. Good to have you, ladies. And it's beyond cancer. When we hear that word, we are afraid. We had another powerful conversation last week. Um, with someone sharing their story, and that was just really something else as well. And so we want to take a little different angle look, as to how we can go beyond this cancer. Okay, beyond this cancer, how we can go beyond it. And so Reverend Marie Roach Hepburn shared with us in the previous session, and tonight we are excited that Michelle is going to share her story with how she gave herself breast cancer and what what we could avoid doing, right? And Karenda. So my thing was, I had to go and do an examination, and I remember how it was. Just going to make that appointment, or having to make that appointment to go and do that, because I don't even remember what happened, why I had to go. But anyway, I went and I had to do this. And it felt so lonely. It felt scary. It felt like, like no one was there to be there to like walk you through the steps. And then when you're waiting for the results, the anxiety, do I tell anybody? Do I like, what do I do? I don't want to alarm my millions of sisters. And, so it was really scary for me at that point. And I remember calling up Karenda's, and that's why it's good to even have a community and just even know people who have been somewhere that you haven't. And I remember calling her and asking, like, what to expect and what to do, because I know she had shared at one point about her situation. So I was able to reach out and get some information. And that time of, that period of when I was going through that experience, I was like, no one should have to do this. After I got through it, I was like, no one should have to do this alone. No one should have to do this. No one else could have been there because of the timing and, the situation we were facing with the pandemic and stuff. So no one else could have been there. And it was just something as simple, not knowing, and and doing it. And even though everything came out okay, and you still have to do your checkups and all of those different things, it was still not something that you want to do alone. And so we want to talk about what it was like, how it is, what you're doing to prevent it, Karenda, and why were you concerned in the first place with your situation. So let's start with you, Karenda. What was happening to you, your connection with breast cancer, or avoiding it. And yeah. Okay. Karenda, are you frozen? Yes. Yeah, she can't answer me. Okay. So Karenda will come on and share.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All righty. Okay. Again, I like the point that you made, having a community. That is essential, particularly for us as women who are going through certain phases in our lives. Our body changes. Some of us experience certain things in our younger days that we're experiencing that we've never experienced before in our life. But I just wanted to say that is high in my family, my dad's side and my mom's side. Cousins that passed as a result of breast cancer. Therefore, I always knew doing mammogram for at least, if it's not more than 10 years, it's very close to it. So what scared me, Linda, and those who are just tuning in,
Okay, so we seem to be having an issue with Karenda. We'll bring her back in. So Michelle, we want to go ahead and we'll bring Karenda back in, but we want to go ahead and allow you to share your story. And you said you gave yourself breast cancer. And of course, when I heard the story, I was um definitely wowed. And to know that you went through and experienced all of that, and you know how that came about. And then of course I am definitely interested in the beyond part of that cancer. So go ahead and share your story with us. Okay, let me unmute. Go ahead.
Yes. So, well, it started a few years ago, 2016. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016, but the cancer was long coming, long before that, because my mother, when I was 10 years old, my mother passed away from breast cancer. So she died because of breast cancer. So as a little girl growing up, I didn't realize the effect that had on me. But as I get older, then it started to materialize. The effect started to, pushing, coming, coming more, displaying more in my life, and just the things that I would do and the thoughts that I would have. It showed like the effect that my mother having cancer had on me as a little girl that I wasn't aware of. So I was always so concerned about getting cancer, about not getting cancer. I was always getting my mammograms. And I was getting mammograms more than the average woman because I was doing mammograms twice a year and having the cervical test, the annual test, and then again, that was twice a year instead of just annually. And so, just constantly having the thoughts and being worried about getting cancer. I didn't realize then that I was planting a seed and I was feeding that seed and I was watering it every day with every thought I had about not having cancer. And so in 2016, I went and I got a breast exam, and my doctor said he felt something. I should go get it, get a biopsy and see what it was, if it was anything. And I did all of that and came to find out it was indeed cancer. And so I reflected and looked at it all, and I realized that, even at at the time of the diagnosis, it didn't surprise me because it's almost as though I was expecting it. See how strange that is? Because I was thinking about it all these
Wow.
years,
Mhm.
yeah, not wanting it, trying to do everything to prevent it, not realizing that even if it was in my gene, and even if it would have taken an additional 20 years for me to get that cancer, if it had to be, just saying if it had to be, because I don't think that it had to be. And so I brought it to myself earlier. Even if I had to have had cancer, I definitely brought it to myself earlier. And I don't believe, having been diagnosed, I don't believe that your gene can determine what is going to happen to you. I believe that for the most part, we determine what is going to happen to us and what our lives is going to be like. And I had decided that every day that I was being concerned and having the thoughts and the mindset around cancer. I was so concerned with not having cancer. Everything was like, I don't want to get cancer. And I don't, and that is the thing with, the thoughts that we have and the speeches that we make and what we tell ourselves daily, because the brain doesn't recognize when you're saying don't like I don't want to have cancer. It just hears cancer, you
Mhm.
know and then and so that's what I was feeding myself: cancer. I don't want to have cancer, but you can eliminate everything else before cancer, because that's all that my brain was hearing: cancer, right? And so I was putting that out there in the universe, and it came back to me. It came back to me. And as I said before, when I was diagnosed, I was not surprised,
Mhm.
because i I was expecting it, and I think that is why I got it. I was expecting it, though I thought I was expecting not to hear about having cancer, having lived the life of thinking every day about not wanting cancer. It was creating the cancer. And if it wasn't breast cancer, it was going to be some other cancer, because, as I said, that's what I was feeding myself. And so it is very important what we say to ourselves, because if I was saying, and thinking, oh, I just want to be healthy, I just
Mhm.
want to be healthy, and I want to live a long life, I just want to be healthy and not focus on, the negative, then I wouldn't have gotten cancer, regardless of the fact that my mother had died of breast cancer, and that they said that I also had the gene. As I said before, I don't believe that your gene truly determines. I think we can, maybe your gene can determine what's going to happen to you, but we have a larger part to play in our lives than our gene does. So even though I was diagnosed with BRCA1 gene, if I heard that and I was focused and I focused differently, then I could have warded that off.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way I lived my life, because if I knew I was prone to getting cancer and I know what are the cancer agents, I know the foods that will increase your chances of getting cancer, then I would have done everything differently. But no, instead I was focused on the wrong thing. And it's all about your mindset and not knowing. Oh Lord, ignorance. That's the worst thing that can happen to anyone, being ignorant of something. Because knowing what I know now, I there is no way I would have had cancer.
Wow.
But
So wow. So you went through that. You heard the diagnosis. You're not surprised. You're in fact expecting it to happen, because it happened. It happened to your mom. You just thought this is a natural consequence. This is what is going to happen. Even though
mhm,
you're saying I don't want to have cancer. I don't want to have cancer.
yeah,
And you're saying you brought that on. Just by doing that, because the brain can distinguish between the negative don't in the front of the word cancer. It just heard the word cancer.
cancer.
Yeah. So you went through that. You're not surprised. What was it like after? Okay, so now you got this diagnosis that you expected. What happened after this in terms of with your fight, recovering and all of that with um, your cancer diagnosis?
Okay, so I had the surgery. I had a double mastectomy surgery, and I had chemotherapy. And at the time when the doctors advised chemotherapy, I wasn't excited. In fact, I refused to have chemo, and they were kind of persistent, about me getting chemo. But I felt, because the cancer that I when at the time I was diagnosed with cancer, it was only at stage 1. And so they said stage 1, it's the early stages, right? It's like
Mm,
just forming. And I didn't want to have chemotherapy, but they were insisting, because of the BRCA1 gene, that I should have the chemotherapy, because of the genealogy, then I could get cancer somewhere else. So, anyways,
mhm,
they said I only needed to have six treatments. So that was like 6 months. So because it was once per month, I had I had 3 treatments, and I went back and I was like, I don't want a chemotherapy. I don't want to do it anymore. And I think after the 4th treatment, I stopped. But at that time, the chemo had already wreaked havoc on my body. I had already lost my hair, my nails fell out, like my fingernails fell out, my toenails fell out, everything. And I after I had the double mastectomy, I got an infection in my breast. I got an infection and I was on antibiotics. I was drugged up. I was on so many different antibiotics because of the bacteria. And so I remember one night I felt like I was going to die. It was my last day. I really felt like it was my last day on earth. But prior to that, I'll get back to that. But prior to that, my whole attitude around the breast cancer and being diagnosed with cancer was as though I was just living my life, because I think it was I think they say out of every evil comes good. And I
mhm,
think I needed to put that cancer thing behind me. You know, having always been worried about it and carrying it with me every day, And so it's so strange, but being diagnosed with cancer, it helped me to get past cancer because it's like, no, okay, so now I've had the cancer.
Worst
So,
thing
so no,
happened. So yeah,
yeah,
let's move on.
yes, let's move on beyond the cancer now. You've been spending all your life thinking and being constantly at the doctors and worried about it. So now, okay, now it's here. Now let's deal with it and let's move on. We don't have to think about it anymore. And so even during my time of, going through that, that was my attitude because I remember my friends would say, girl, if I didn't know that this was happening to you and somebody told me, I would say that they're lying because I was just living my life then, and I remember I told my family and I said, you guys don't cry. What are you crying for? Don't cry. Nobody needs to cry. I'm not dying. It's just something that happened. Right. So let's just, and and I remember my sister, she's like, she doesn't want to be around me because she's gonna cry, and I don't want nobody to be crying, and she doesn't know how to not cry. so so yeah. So my attitude during the time that I was diagnosed and was going through that was better than before. Right? It was better than before because if I had that type of attitude before, then I wouldn't have gotten cancer, right? Because I would have been like positive and be like, we don't need to even entertain that thought because it's not gonna happen, right? So yes, so that was that, and then back to the story of when I had the infection. So I was on all these drugs. I had the infection, and I remember one night I felt I couldn't eat anything, I couldn't drink anything, I couldn't even put water at my lips. If I put water at my lips, I would be like vomiting. I'd bring it out. It's just like I had tolerance for nothing,
Wow.
and I was done. I had nothing left to throw up. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't do anything. And I was over the toilet. I think that must have been like maybe the eighth time that day I was vomiting.
Wow.
And I just gave it up. And I said, Lord, I don't know. I don't know why I'm going through this, but I I'm repenting, and whatever I did that caused this to happen to me, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Take it, Lord, take it away from me. And that night I went to bed and I had three angels tending to me that night. They actually, there were three angels. I don't know if you've heard of a lucid dream. I know it was not a dream, but I was drugged up and I was very lucid, and there were three angels standing to me. And after that, I got up the morning and I never vomited again. I was able to eat, I was able to drink, and I was feeling so much better
Wow.
after that one night. So
Wow.
so yeah, so there's so much that came from having gone through what I did, because now I know the power of the mind. I know too well because I have firsthand experience about, the things, the self-talk,
Mm-hmm.
and, the plays that we have internal in our heads,
Yes.
our mind games. And it doesn't matter um how big or how small it is. If you do it in your head, you can manifest it. You can indeed manifest it. So if I can make myself sick, I can make myself healthy, and I
Yes.
can make myself into anything I want to be, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so that is the message for everyone listening.
That you determine a lot of it. That is so true.
Yes.
Thanks so much for sharing that. We're going to come back to you, Michelle, to share with you know this connection between what your mind sees and what your brain hears and does, and how that affects your health. Karenda, I'm sorry, we got disconnected, and you were sharing. I know you were talking about your situation and how your experience or how you related to dealing with, having your mammograms and everything. So you could continue for us.
Alrighty. Yeah, I just wanted to encourage Michelle and thank you for sharing your testimony on how important the mind is when it comes to illness. Unlike Michelle, I did not have breast cancer. I had a major scare that was close to breast cancer, but because of my constant checking up of the breast, my examination at that time I wasn't married, so no one was checking my breast for me. I was doing my self examination, and I realized that something was different. And automatically I diagnosed myself. I didn't go to Google. I just said I had breast cancer. And it
Wow.
was because I know that it is in my gene as well. And because of my family members that have passed away from breast cancer. And this experience was prior to my mom passing away or my mom being diagnosed. I just automatically said, okay, it's cancer. But after my examination with my doctor, I had to go over. I went abroad. I got checked up locally and went abroad to the United States. And there was some abnormality in the breast, which was just the ducts. There were issues with my breast ducts. So that for that 2 weeks before I got to travel, um, I said I had cancer,
Hmm.
and I started worrying. At that time, I had young children. In my mind, I started to plan my will. Everything that I had already said, okay, this is it. And because I didn't understand as well, even though it might have been breast cancer, it's something that we as women can fight, and it's not a death sentence. I've had friends who've had breast cancer, family members who beaten, they were able to overcome it because they caught it at an early stage, as well as they got the necessary treatment. But I can speak more so to what I've been doing to protect myself, because I know, whether one believe that genes, whether it's genetic or not. um, I'm heavy boobs, Michelle. I, I always make fun of my friends who don't have boobs or breasts. I don't know how
Big, 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 big. Not
they,
just not
who
have them.
don't
Big,
have
bigger.
who don't have
Full size. Double
solid
D.
solid boobies, right? Or in our culture, we say bubbies, right? I, I I don't know how they do it, Linda. When you go to get a mammogram, because
Oh,
it
yeah.
it
No one
is
tells you about that. No one tells you. The
it's
smaller
painful
it
in
is,
its
the
own
more
way.
difficult it is to get that exam done.
Yes, and at least I have a full amount that can go on the table. Those who don't, and when the machine is pressing, at least I have some
Cushion.
cushion. So I'm not sure, Linda, how you did it, but God is good. God is good.
No cushion for that. The cushion isn't for that.
But because I know that this is a part of my family genes, I don't miss my mammogram. And ladies, it's not only for breast cancer. There are other issues that occurs with the breast. So that is one thing that I do every year. And Michelle, because of the type of breast I had, and because of the issue that I had to do for about 2 or 3 years. I had to do my mammogram twice a year, so that they could, they were monitoring me. So that is a form in which I have been doing to protect myself. Early detection, can also help to prevent the cancer from spreading. Or, if there's something strange going on in the breast, at least your doctors are able to nip it, or to catch it before it spreads. So that is one main focus for me, or what I've been doing to protect myself. In addition to that, not only to protect myself, but also to protect my fellow sisters. I've particularly since my mom has passed away, I am I'm an advocate for walks, for runs, for breast cancer awareness, and I think that in itself too helps to protect us because we're helping others to be aware of this deadly disease and bringing awareness so that they can protect themselves against it. Participating in the various examination, and this is something that we should be doing as ladies pretty much every day. I had a friend who sadly passed from breast cancer, and she was able to detect her breast cancer a bit early, though she passed, but she was able to determine it. And she had said to me it was in a space of a day she realized a change in her breast because of the examination. So all of that, I feel that helps to protect us. And that's what I've been doing, ensuring that I am protected. I do my breast checkups with the doctors. I do it with myself, as well as I encourage persons to eat healthy, even though at times, Linda, I'm guilty. I do sneak my sweets or whatever,
Mhm.
but try and refrain from certain food items that contributes to the illness. So when we look at what's going on in the world and what's being put in our foods, being put in our drinks, the stress that we as women go through on a day-to-day basis, that in itself brings on or contribute to cancer. So we need to find ways in which we just stay away from these stressful environments, stressful relationships, and a lot of that is as a result of what has been going on through our lives that contribute to it. My mom died, and I know for a fact, I shouldn't say I know for a fact because I'm a doctor, but I know that what she went through in life um, contributed to her illness. And women, we're long suffering, um, and there's what I find that we hold on to a lot of stress, whether it's anger, whether it's bad relationship,
Mhm.
a lot of things is going on within our mind, which is affecting our body, our soul, and that in itself is causing us to get all sorts of diseases. So, how to protect yourself? Because I'm a Christian, I believe God's word is it's my food, and if we constantly eat God's food, or the word of God, constantly drink it,
Mhm.
constantly make it a part of our life. That in itself helps us to live a stress-free life. Not
Yes.
that things are not going to be hard, but it helps us to be better individuals so that we can live a healthier life. So those are some of the things that I feel that's been protecting me. And I'm not one who's going to say, don't go to the doctor, don't get checkup, don't have a surgery. That is something that you personally have to determine. I know what I would do, but I know I'm an advocate for one to always go and get your breast checked up. It's a discomfort. However, um, technology is improving. I know some persons they get their breast tested in different ways, but I'm encouraging women to do that. If you haven't done it for the year, it's not too late. So I just encourage ladies to continue to live a healthy life,
Mhm.
refrain from stress, and to also get your breast checked up annually.
Okay. Before, I know I definitely want Michelle to talk more about this connection with, how she gave herself it, and now we're going beyond that, how you can talk and speak all of these other positives into your life. But before we go there, Michelle, I just wanted to, because sometimes we miss this point too. Maybe it's not me going through and having that experience. but I know a lady who is experiencing this. How can I help her? How can I be a friend? How can I help another woman? How can I, even if I don't know, how could I be of support to others? I know, Karenda, you talk about being an advocate and sharing and encouraging people to do stuff, but what could we do if we know that a friend or a family member or someone else, someone is, struggling with cancer? And what would you want it to have done, Michelle? Can we just share on that? Because we want to help, we want to protect others as well.
Right. So it's it will come down to support, right? So just being there, because sometimes there's not much that you can do other than just be present and let it be known that you're supportive, right? So if the person had maybe just got out of the hospital or is not very mobile, then maybe you can help them with groceries, or just getting them things that they may need from the store and stuff like that. But other than that, just being supportive and being positive. Being positive is huge, right? Because I know when I was going through my illness at the time, I didn't want anybody bringing negativity to me. And I did not want any pity, really, because that, even though it's okay to feel sympathy for someone, but then it it brings a different energy when
Mm-hmm.
you bring sympathy, because you can be sympathetic without being sorrowful, right? So I know it's not a time to celebrate, but you can still be you can have a positive outlook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not a death sentence. It's not a death sentence. So and so we shouldn't treat it as such. And I believe, like, if we do, and I sincerely believe that if we're diagnosed with cancer or any other diseases, right, and we think it's a death sentence, then we shall surely die, right? So it's all about your outlook. It's all about your mindset. Remember, I said I gave it to myself, right? So if I had, it's very likely that if I had kept on the path of being negative and just being like, oh my God, my mom died and she had cancer, so now I'm gonna die, I wouldn't be here talking to you, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I would have convinced my body that I am dying, and so my body would have no alternative but to die,
Yeah.
right? So while it's not avoidable in all cases, but having a positive mindset will always work in your favor.
Linda, I also wanted to add to that. And this is something that we as ladies, we don't do. We don't talk.
Yeah.
I can't read your mind. I mean, I have a sister. I have a few. I have some sisters where if they walk in front of me, I can tell something is wrong.
Mhm.
But I can't do that with all of the female friends or with all of my friends in my life. The mere fact that you spoke to me about your situation, Linda, was because you heard me talking about my situation. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, because I'm humorous, I made jokes about my mammogram. I even imitated how the mammogram attendant lady was trying to help me to lift my breasts on the machine. And she was so small, so, I talk about those type of things, and I talk about my experience. So persons know what I went through. So Linda was able to reach out to me and speak to me about what was happening to her. And I was able to encourage her and give her advice. And that is what I would think, or I would like for more ladies to do. Talk to somebody, especially those who have been through it, or who are going through it. We're not always fortunate to be a part of a particular support group, especially for those of us who live on the islands, the small islands. But we do have these forums, these platforms where we can talk with other women. But I believe women need to stop being so secretive, and let's
Yeah.
talk about it. I have a lump. Um, my breast doesn't feel right. I'm noticing some things. Let's talk about it and give one another advice. Yes, you have persons who are negative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, some person will give you the death sentence, but in
Mm-hmm.
reality,
Mm,
there's some good persons out there
yeah.
who don't have any problem talking with you to help you because they know what they've been through.
Yeah.
So that, like how you're on this platform, Michelle, I think that's a ministry in itself. You're sharing with others not to take this as a death sentence and
Mm-hmm.
not to put it on ourselves, because
Mm-hmm.
I did not have breast cancer, but I diagnosed myself. I had
Mm-hmm.
breast cancer. I fret for 2 weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
and I brought illness on myself. But
Mm-hmm.
thank the Lord that it wasn't breast cancer. And I'm going to wrap up with this point as it talks about if you do get it. I remember a professor of mine. He died from a different type of cancer, and when we went to visit him, someone said to him, "Why it had to be you, professor?" And his answer to them was, "Why not? Why
Mm-hmm.
not?"
Mm,
This platform is not saying all of us are going to be breast cancer free, but
Right.
this platform is to help other ladies to protect themselves from it. And if they do get it, this is the time for us to minister to others. And maybe this was the only way we would minister to others because we ended up getting this dreadful disease. So I want to encourage the ladies to talk. Also, if you get it, let's let's share with others about your success, even your failures, so
Mm-hmm.
that we can build a strong body of believers and we can try our best to conquer this disease.
Yes. So I also want to add to, um, after having breast cancer, I did change my diet, and I started drinking every day. I started drinking lemon water before I eat anything. I eliminated most sugars, and red meat. I really don't eat that much red meat. I still, every now and then, but I understand that it wasn't those things on their own that, why I was sick. But it doesn't hurt to change your diet, right? So if if somebody that I knew was going through that now, that would be my advice for them, right? The lemon water, because the lemon water, it cleanses you. It will not eliminate the cancer if you have been diagnosed with cancer, but these are things that'll, just your body overall, your immune system, it'll help. It'll help with that, right? So your diet is very important.
awesome.
And
Hmm.
yep, and just staying positive, just staying positive. I'll never stop saying that. Just staying positive. And there is this doctor that I follow, um, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He was a chiropractor turn um, researcher. So he does a lot of research on the power of the mind and how we can, through meditations, we can heal ourselves and manifest what we want. And it's not just his teachings is a little different than just affirmations. It's about meditations and keeping that meditative state throughout your day. If you're meditating and you're trying to have serenity, even when you're in traffic, you try to maintain that serenity, right? So it's kind of like putting action to the thought.
Mm,
And yes, and I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe, and I really think that because I am convinced, nobody can tell me otherwise, that your mind is what determines what's gonna happen to you. And if we use our mind to get what we want and not what we don't want, then for sure we will get what we want. But Dr. Joe add the other element of, living it, So I think those two things, the mind in combination with your actions,
Makes a big difference.
it
So you
does.
can definitely go and beyond cancer or any disease or any other thing, because you are not only speaking that positive and living that positive, but really doing the actions, right? So you have a
Hmm.
combination of all of that, and then making sure you're in the right community, because you could be surrounded by people who are speaking what you don't want to hear in terms of that negative, and bringing that negative energy, which is going to defeat the whole purpose of what you are trying to do. So I totally believe in community, and being in the right community, to make sure that you get that support. So, communities are being built all around. So, those of you who are watching, go ahead, contact me, get in touch with me, to be a part of a community. Yes, a community of support. We have different communities where you could be in one to help you with your unique situation. So, definitely going beyond. The mind determines a lot, like you said, Michelle, the mind determines a lot. And you said you gave yourself cancer, and now you're to beyond that and living your life the way you want it, right? And creating that
Hmm.
life you want, and speaking it, not with the negative, but exactly how you want it. So I am healthy, I am whole, I am, living this full life, instead of saying, I don't want to have cancer, or I don't want to have cancer, living
Yeah.
that life. So thanks so much for sharing. I don't know if you, Karenda and Michelle, if you have any final words before we wrap up. I want to just let everyone know.
Hmm.
Go ahead and share this. This has been truly just inspirational for me as well, and just hearing your stories and hearing the information that you shared has really motivated me to the point where I'm like, yes, we need more of this. We need more people talking. We need more people sharing. We need more positive, because guess what? The world has a whole lot of negative already, and
Indeed.
so we need to be that light to bring hope and healing for others, even if it's in the words that we speak. So if you have any final thoughts, and those of you who are watching, remember to share, 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 share.
Yes, so I just want to say that it's not just about thinking and speaking, right? Because I could be going around saying, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, and I'm adding 10 sugars to my tea, right? so so our actions has to coincide with our speech. It definitely, we cannot be saying one thing and then doing something else,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It will not work.
I also want to encourage our ladies in particular, and we do have men that,
Yes, this is unique couples.
yeah,
Yes.
we do have men that unfortunately they too get breast cancer. I just want us to encourage, I want them to be encouraged. And again, it's not a death sentence in most cases. In some cases, especially those who are at their last stage, and I know there's miracle, God can, perform miracles, but in some cases, some persons will succumb to this deadly diseases. However, in the interim, I am encouraging those of us, or I'm speaking to myself as well, to continue to seek medical attention. We try to dodge it. We behave sometimes like the ostrich. We know that there are some signs and we ignore it, but
Hmm.
eventually we have to we have to have a reality check. We live in a sinful world, and sin is around. Sickness is a part of sin, and you and I may contract some of these illness as a result of sin. But there is always hope. If we can get our medical treatments or get diagnosed early, then these things can help to prevent or to spread the disease any further. And healthful living is important. Healthful eating. And
Hmm.
when I speak about healthy lifestyle, I'm not only speaking about eating. That that husband that's stressing you out, or those children, or family member, friends, you have to look in the mirror and say, hey, enough is enough. I am more important, and my body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. So we have to, I would say, detox ourselves, get a cleanser, whether to get rid of some of these things in our lives, so that we could live a healthier life, so that we are able to be that vessel, or be the witness that God wants us to be. So
Mm-hmm.
cancer is a disease, but we can prevent those disease coming upon us if we follow God's plan. And God's plan is in the Bible, and don't care what. That is the manual we should be reading
Mm-hmm.
to help us to get through this phase of our life until He comes again. So, ladies, be encouraged. Talk to some sisters, talk to some brothers, get the help that you need, so that you can truly live a healthy life.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, for sharing and encouraging. And if it's just one person who hears and is encouraged and is can go ahead and speak the positive, do the positive, and change their life and be protected, we would have done a whole lot. So I just want to say a special shout out to all of our unique couple sponsors who make just even having you all here and make this possible. Here to Please, the Nail Creation Lab by Anna, Party with Serenity, Style Me Pretty, New Growth Beauty Salon, Build Your Best Life with Deborah D. Smith, Total Grace Solution with Thaddeus and Amanda Randolph, and Kathy Bergans with her new podcast, K4 podcast, that she is releasing as well. Thank you so much, Karenda and Michelle, for sharing. And for all of you who are here, remember, share, share, share. Share to help. This has been Unique Couples Sunday Night Live. Remember, we're building stronger couples, healthier marriages, and happier families. And it all starts with us, one at a time. So stay away from those stressful situations, even if those relationships, so that you can protect yourself from head to toe. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.